I am the Good Shepherd. They hear my voice. It is rare that one actually goes as far as hearing a voice, but one does perceive. The more one is serene, calm, and receptive, the more one is open to be worked upon by the Holy Ghost. And the more free the Lord is to use immediate and secondary means to get His will through to us. He wants to get through to us, and He will if we allow Him and invite Him. This is particularly true in the case of a young person with the whole of life ahead. The Lord does want to call some directly for His service and to own entirely certain parts of creation, certain souls called to come apart. The orientation depends on the divine will and on His providence. There are certain guidelines, however, which can be useful in this delicate domain. One is the remote preparation. The Lord can't get through to addicted souls, hyped up souls, clogged minds. He needs space. Moreover, He can't get through to souls that are led by passion and see only one thing. And these passions and these images are nourished by modern means. So a certain freedom from modern means is very propitious when it comes to opening the soul and all its pores to something deeper, something other, not based on the immediate. And so the education of a young person is total protection from an early age, beginnings check, and consequences follow. It is easier not to start, but can come back from certain high-powered areas where demons freely roam. But then, if a call is perceived, one has to be careful where one orientates the soul. For there are, alas, too many casualties on this line of vocation, oftentimes through certain messages, tendential orientations, even the odd agenda coming in, which progressively discourage a certain type of vocation. We have lost many good, classic, orthodox, traditional vocations because of this. And vocations are too precious to be squandered and sacrificed to an agenda. It is better to go to a place of formation in which one is relaxed and carried by a current of people with the same message and desire, that have to fight and go always countercurrent and keep a low profile so as to survive. And so one looks around and one sees, where is the Lord free to act? Where are his blessings being generously shared? And one sees a certain pattern emerging. Places where completeness of formation, emphasis on the spiritual life, orthodoxy, fidelity to the church magisterium and to tradition, places of this nature are more free to be blessed by the Lord and tend to draw more abundantly and attract heaven's blessings and graces. And people who enter persevere. And that is the bottom line, getting there and staying there. One cannot really hope to have the Holy Spirit following a human agenda and then make all kinds of human vocations drives so as to get vocations, recruit vocations, as though it were an army mess. It doesn't work like that. Moreover, the end product must be a totally consecrated person. And therefore, if one goes through a long period of formation exposed to more of the same thing, a certain human modality with much swearing and vulgarity, that is what we will have. If one goes to something which is completely orientated towards intimacy with the Lord as a starting point, that is what will break through. Friends of Jesus. In the Acts, we find that people noticed that they had been with Jesus. Moreover, if one goes to a place where, right through one's priestly life or consecrated life in general, one has to go against one's conscience, that conscience is being continuously wounded and damaged. So if, for instance, one is aware that the Lord prefers a certain mode of celebrating and receiving, then one can choose that. And there are places where that can still happen. There are places where one can still celebrate, facing, as in the tradition of the Church, east and west, the rising sun, the oratory, and so on. There are places which are aware of it, even in the English-speaking world. Communion received in a reverent way and given in that way. This can still happen. There are places where one can be carried by a wave of fervour, by brethren and sisters of the same ilk. It is worth looking into this. Giving one's life to a life of total consecration is also signed by what we wear, and to wear until death at all times a certain garb from the beginning is a great help.